Okay, team.
Okay, team.
Y'all, I am Kareen from the OK team. It's a lovely rainy day in Brooklyn, and I want to share with you my review on the Tommy Tippee Fiesta bottles versus the Avent bottles. Starting out with both bottles, some background is that I've had them since the beginning when Naya was born. I breastfed rarely. I did pump, and so I would pump into these bottles, pump and then put the milk inside of these bottles. I had issues with breastfeeding, and if you're interested in knowing more about breastfeeding and what that story was like, let me know and I will make a video about that for you. Well, all for you to know that these bottles were used since Naya was 2 months old, 6 weeks old. Another brand of bottles that did not work for me, and all I have to say is I just don't think that Naya liked them very well. That's the Dr. Bronner's bottles. They were not the best ones to use for her. She just didn't take to them. But these she did. So here are the differences between the Avent and the Tommy Tippee. The first thing is that the Tommy Tippee is wider. This one comes up to 8 ounces. I do have an Avent that goes up to 9, so I have these two. The nipple can actually be changed out, and you just take it off like this for the Tommy Tippee, and you can change them out. And that's really cool because if you want to increase the flow, it starts at 1, but you can increase the flow as the baby gets older. For me personally, I didn't change them. I left it at 1, and it worked for us. So this was great because when Naya was basically born, she was using these, and they're soft and they imitate the nipple. And I would try to put her on the breast, and I had issues and I just couldn't do it. But this was like, I felt good because she took to this very well, and it is soft. Like when you press it, it's smushy and it feels like more nipply, probably even more than the Avent. The Avent is a little bit more harder. What I also found with these is that they are great for sanitation and for sterilization. So I do have the Tommy Tippee microwave sterilizer, but sometimes, like when I would be visiting my mother's house, I just had to use hot water, and I would pour hot water over this over and over and over again. Like the most that probably happened was that the lettering got a little it starts to come off a little bit here at the top, but I mean it was fine in the really hot water, and that I think is a really important thing. Now here's the only thing with these nipples that I didn't like, is that sometimes, especially once I switched the formula, this began to happen. You would fill up the water to formula, put in the powder and shake it, and you would have to shake it really well, but sometimes it wouldn't come out of the nipple, and so like you'll see that the milk is all the way in and it wants to come out, but something with the nipple would stop it. Maybe it's like a little extra powder debris or whatever, and I'd have to shake it or clean the nipple. And certain times when you have a baby and she's hungry and she's crying, and then you give her the bottle and she, at least Naya, would go crazy. It was because there was no milk coming out, and that's happened a few times with these bottles, for instance. So I don't know if changing the nipple to a bigger one would help, but that was one thing with these that did not work so well. Other than that, like I would rinse it out or poke a little needle in it and it would come out. So it really was just the frustration of figuring out why the baby was upset and finding out that the milk wasn't coming out. For the Avent bottles, these are honestly going to be my favorite versus the Tommy Tippee, even though I recommend them both. The Avents, what's great about them is that I didn't have any of that leak, not like no milk coming out issue. They were just perfect. Also, as the baby gets older, these are easier for her to hold versus these. She does hold these, but she holds the Tommy Tippee like with her hands like this. It's She holds a little awkward, but these are, because of the slimmer model, she's able to hold it more like this with her little baby hands, and it's really cute. Now, these aren't as soft as the Tommy Tippee nipples. They can be changed out just the same. Sorry, this bottle has been used, but you know, all you do is you just poke it out and you can change it to a bigger nipple. These I did change. I found that the one was too slow after the baby got a little bit bigger, so I did change it to a 2 for the nipple. Honestly, there's nothing much to say about these, and what I really loved is that overnight, when I'm giving the baby milk overnight, I didn't need the big bottle. This small one still serves a purpose, even when she's a little bit older. You know, when she's like 9-10 months, she's having 6 or more ounces of milk, right? And so the big one is more purposeful, but overnight all I need is 4 ounces, and so this was still very useful for overnights. So the biggest thing that I find is that the Tommy Tippee is nice because it mimics the breast and it's softer for like the newborns, but the Avent was just like a solid functional bottle, and I didn't have any problems with the milk coming out. It's also slimmer than the Tommy Tippee, so for my baby it was easier for her to adjust learning how to hold this one versus the Tommy Tippee, which is a little bit bigger, but she holds them both now. So they both are really great bottles, and they both serve a great purpose. I would recommend the Tommy Tippee for the newborns and for babies younger than like 5 months. And then I would recommend the Avent bottles for 5 months and up. And that's pretty much my take on it from my experience raising a baby. Now she's 1 year old. She uses both bottles. It's no problem. Though I still have times where the Tommy Tippee, it doesn't come out of the nipple, the milk doesn't come out. And that's, maybe it's because it's formula and the formula powder gets stuck in there or something. So I hope that that is helpful for you, and thank you so much for tuning in to my review over the 2 bottles. And I hope that if you'd like to know more about the things that I recommend, you know, just me, brand new mom trying to figure things out, these are things that worked for me, and it's just sometimes it's great to have word of mouth and pass it on, and you know, find somebody that's regular, like you know, like just a regular person who can give you their feedback on the bottles. Bye.
Okay, team. Okay, team. Okay, okay. Okay, team. Next time on the OKTEAM channel, the evolution of baby Naya from birth to 1 year old.